Our first learning module in this round of the application, and our third overall, Marketing Skilled Trades to the College Bound, features Wes Crawford and Josh Gary of Sutherlin High School in Sutherlin, Oregon. Wes teaches welding as an agricultural science and technology instructor, and Josh leads woods manufacturing coursework. The two worked as a team on their application and succeeded in being named second place winners in the 2018 Harbor Freight Tools for Schools Prize for Teaching Excellence. The two teachers are committed to attracting all kinds of students to their courses and work diligently to reach out to those students who might be traditionally seen as college-bound and not skilled trade students. They do this by providing courses that are intriguing, that have value, and that are rigorous. We've worked really hard to make sure they're not seen as recess, Wes explains, but as a first choice instead of a last choice. The result? Their shop classes have valedictorians and calculus students along with those seeking modified diplomas. If you'd like to dig a little deeper into the concept of attracting college-bound students into your skilled trade classes, you'll find additional material in our resource library. You can use the main menu to click ahead and draw upon this supplemental content to help you answer the relevant application questions. Or you can dig in and explore it later if you prefer. In the meantime, we invite you to sit back and check out what nuggets you might be able to borrow from what Wes and Gary have to say.
I think the key thing behind that is rigor. What these programs that we have here, these classes, we've worked really hard to make sure they're not seen as recess. It's not a dumping ground. It's not the other option when you have no other option, but more premier, premium, and first choice instead of last choice. That's been a lot done through marketing and communicating and demonstrating effectively in our community what is happening here, making those connections with industry partners. The other, probably more important actually, component of this has been that outreach to parents. The reason those kids in those higher end math classes or the college bound, if you will, aren't always seen in the skills trade is often, it's all about perception. It's not just the student perception, it's also the perception of their parents and what they're pushing them to, classes they're pushing them to take. We've positioned ourselves here, and through a lot of advocacy and a lot of work, as premier programs, and programs that have a lot of value regardless of that career path, especially the career path that maybe parents foresee their children on.
If you're going to recruit a high-end student, you have to challenge them. I mean, you can't, hey, you're going to come and make this birdhouse. Nobody wants a birdhouse, you know? So trying to tailor your class per kid, which is a little bit of work. I had a valedictorian, this Smidt, last period, fourth period, she's going to be a valedictorian. She's a junior. She's 4.0, great student. And she was really, she's with ceramics, loves pottery. And I say, hey, you should come learn how to do the wheel. And she's like, well, I don't know if I really want to run everything and all this stuff. So I just say, hey, come do what you want. Well, you know, I kind of tailored just a class just for her. My biggest challenge is telling them that we just want you to have these skills and this set, and to work with industry standard equipment and software, so that when you're thinking about when you're graduating, you're like, I don't really know what to do. Options, choices, going to, hey, you can go here, 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 maybe school, maybe college, great. You know, and I don't root against anything. I just try to allow them to think there's value in all these different opportunities and different choices.
We make sure that counselor knows the expectations of those programs and the prerequisites and the opportunities that come with that. That really helps to make them on board with having kids in these areas. And instead of making them choose academic courses over, they are working on the master schedule to make sure calculus doesn't conflict with the welding class, because they know there's students who are in both. And so those sorts of specific things, and they're all small things, but those small things add up and make it easier for those students to be able to access this and be part of it. And that just becomes a build. When those kids are in it, then other kids see them in it. And when they can see themselves in it, whether that's that calculus student or it's a female student in welding and wood shop, when they can see themselves being in those classes, then that's going to increase that recruitment, and it's going to make it easier to attract those students to those programs. Some things we've done there is making sure that a lot of our classes offer college credit. That makes it an easier sell and an easier convince when they can say this is not just a class, even if they're just talking to a parent, well, yeah, but I can get college credit for this class, or I can get this certification for this class. The community outreach component and when reaching parents is probably the most valuable. We have a presence at what's called the Douglas County Home Show. It's put on by our local home builders association, and we have a booth there. We don't sell anything there. We're not serving as a vendor. It's very much a show and tell. And that show and tell has our students talking with the public. Well, those public are a lot of parents with kids that are in the schools, or kids that are going to be coming through the schools. We get kids, parents of students at other schools, like, we wish our school had this program. That's really huge because, again, what do they see? They see the end result. They see these students with these skills here that are able to communicate about them to the public about this. And they might not be the most natural public speaker, but when you can put them in their element and talk about what they're doing, they really shine.
Facebook's not as cool for kids anymore. So mom and dad see the cool projects that we do and other students do on Facebook. Hey, you should maybe take that class. That looks like something that might be fun. So we market to parents a little bit more than we do to students, because the parents kind of tend to make a lot of those drivers' decisions. And the students just word of mouth. I mean, if a kid has a great experience in your class, they tell someone else. If they have a bad experience in your class, they tell, 2 or 3 other people. So just trying to keep those things positive and fun. You have to show them different, options. Hey, welders make this much money, because kids are driven still by money, and parents they want their kids to be successful. I've talked a lot about student loan debt. I mean, really, I've played that game. Like, it's very expensive. Do you really know what you want to do? Do you really need that? They have jobs now, and then I've tried to do a good job of, when I have a student that's ready to go to work, I help them get a job. I mean, and we're a small school, and time is a thing. But I had to interview with a human resources person last night, about a student that's going to hopefully get a job as a CNC manufacturer. So you just have to practice what you preach, I guess. And it's not a dumping ground. That's the biggest thing. You have to make your class difficult and rewarding, and so that a good student takes a class that they feel like they get something out of. And my second try is, hey, problem solving, number one. Hey, I'm going to put you in a situation where you have no idea what you're doing, and you have to solve it. And there's a right and wrong answer. If you cut a piece an inch short, you can't BS your way out of it. I mean, I always tell you. So the idea that there's no value, even you don't have to go be a welder to anticipate that. Number one is being a good homeowner, knowing how to be comfortable with tools and safe. Hire a contractor; those are pretty expensive. Or maybe you can hang a shelf yourself, and save a couple $100. So that's my very bare bones. I know the kids got no interest in. I'm like, hey, you're gonna own a house someday. I mean, that's like my last straw. Hey, you need to be able to run a cordless drill. I mean, that's very basic.
I think it's really neat for me to have this wider range of students that we get. And if you were going to, in my classroom, what happens is if you're going to rate these kids, where here's the academic kids and you go on down to the less academically inclined, and you rank them this way. My classroom takes them and it turns them like this. And all of a sudden, they're all facing a new direction, and they have a new challenge, and they have a task in front of them that these new skill sets emerge. And sometimes it is the calculus kid who's also really good at this problem solving or welding, and sometimes it's a kid that can barely pass math that can do it. But you start putting them together and you put them on this equal level playing field that's much more realistic of what things are going to be like in their future. And you see relationships develop, you see collaboration happen that wouldn't happen in a normal core academic class, because now they're all bringing different things to the table. They have things to learn from each other in a different way than they did before, and it's just a new perspective for them. So that's really fun to watch. And it's not so much that it takes some people down and it moves some people up, but it just rearranges the board, and it gives everybody this new fresh start of doing things together that I think is really valuable for where they're going and what they're going to do in their future, instead of this typical stratification that we tend to see in academics.